Volume 1, Chapter 4 of The Female American, or The Adventures of Unca Eliza Winkfield. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 4. Unca buys a sloop and embarks for England. The captain proposes a match between her and his son. Her slaves and attendants massacred, and herself left on an uninhabited island. Having paid my father every funeral honor I could, and having nothing now to attach me to this country, and the bulk of my great fortune lying in England, I determined to embark for that kingdom, and to conclude my days in my uncle's family. But Solomon saith, The heart of man deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his going. And so I found it. I was now in my 24th year. At this time an opportunity offered that favored my intended voyage. There was a sloop in the harbor, a good sailing vessel, and large enough to carry me, my attendants, and effects. I chose an old captain, who had lately been shipwrecked and lost his all, and who wanted to get over to his son in England to undertake the care of us, and, as a gratuity for his trouble, promised, if we arrived safe in England, to give him the ship, that he might once more be able to follow his occupation. This proposal he accepted with great joy, and having got together a sufficient number of hands to navigate our vessel, I prepared to embark. Notwithstanding what my father had before sent to England, I had yet a great many valuable goods to take with me, to the amount of near £10,000. These being safely lodged on board, I followed myself, attended by my 2 favorite female slaves, who had sailed with me before, and 6 men slaves, who begged to attend me, though I had offered them their liberty if they chose to stay behind. We sailed with the first fair wind, and had not been on our voyage above a day before the captain, willing to lose no time, began to talk to me very freely about marriage. He did not indeed solicit me for himself, but he made strong courtship for his son. I at first answered him with good humor, and told him I hoped he would let me see his son before I determined to have him, and that if he could shoot with my bow and arrows, which then hung by me in the cabin, as well as I could, I would have him were he ugly or handsome. But I soon found that he was too much in earnest, and I too much in his power, for in a peremptory manner he told me that if I would not immediately sign a bond to marry his son on our arrival in England, or forfeit £30,000, I should neither see England nor return to my plantation. I wondered he did not propose himself, but I found afterwards that he was a married man, as he informed me. I did not know law enough then, or else I might have given the bond, and so have avoided the distress that my refusal occasioned. As in equity, I might have been released from the penalty, and the readier, as my 2 female slaves were witnesses to all he said. But as I persisted in my refusal, he grew incensed, and having, I suppose, gained the ship's crew by promises to assist him, at last told me he was come to a resolution, that as I persisted in my refusal, he was now very opportunely coming to an uninhabited island, where he would leave me to be a prey to wild beasts, and that as I had given him my ship, he would make bold to give himself the cargo. 2 of my men slaves happened to come behind him just as he said these words, when one of them caught him in his arms, and the other, opening the cabin window, threw him into the sea. I know not whether I was sorry for this at that instant, but I soon had occasion to be heartily so, for the consequence was fatal to them. As our ship at this time made very little way, and the captain could swim, he presently got up to the ship, and being seen by some of the crew, who knew not how he got overboard, a rope was thrown out, and he was quickly drawn up. In the meantime, one of the 2 men slaves went and brought the other 4 into my cabin. Soon after the captain and several of his men, armed with pistols and cutlasses, came into the cabin. The captain, advancing up to him who threw him overboard, shot him dead, and now a terrible skirmish began. I indeed got no hurt, which was a wonder, for though no blow was aimed at me, the close of the place exposed me to imminent danger, and the 2 female slaves got several wounds. My men slaves were unarmed and therefore soon overcome. 3 were killed outright, and the others, I suppose, mortally wounded. The poor faithful fellow who opened the cabin window was hung up alive at the yardarm, bleeding as he was, there to perish by hunger, thirst, and heat. This touched me more than my own misfortune. I offered the captain £1,000 to release him, and to let him be cured of his wounds. "Madam," returned the villain, "where are your £1,000? All you have on board is already in my possession." Thus could I only pity, but not relieve. I now expected my own destiny, and it soon arrived. The captain, who had left the cabin to dispose of his prisoners, returned and once more asked me if I would sign the bond. I answered no, and at the same time desired that my 2 maids might have some care taken of their wounds. He replied he had no surgeon, and if they did not grow well soon, he should throw them overboard, but if they recovered, he would sell them the first opportunity. He then left the cabin. A few hours afterwards we came to an uninhabited island, where he put me on the shore, for nothing that I said could soften his heart. I begged hard for both or one of my maids, but all the favor I could obtain was my bow and quiver of arrows. Indeed, he gave me a box of clothes, but for these I did not thank him, as I never expected to use them, thinking myself consigned to some wild beast whose prey I should become. End of chapter 4.